What is the best ride at Universal Studios Hollywood? Today we are going to rank and tell why, in our opinion, these are the best rides at Universal Studios Hollywood. The Simpsons Ride. We begin this ranking with what is arguably the worst ride in the entire park. And we know that many Simpsons fans might be offended by this, but hear us out first, and we'll tell you why we have so much hatred for this ride. First of all, it replaced one of the most classic rides in the park, and one of our favorites too, Back to the Future the ride. Not only that, but the replacement wasn't an upgrade. If it had brought new technology or a dark ride with animatronics, our opinion might have been different. However, it was just a reskin, and a boring one at that. Honestly, a VR headset is much more entertaining than this ride that you find in an actual theme park. And while the ride's storyline might be fun and the Springfield area that it brought with it is fantastic, it doesn't save the ride from being the only one on this list in the trash tier. Leave a comment if you agree. If you're enjoying our content, consider subscribing to our channel. Also, like and share the video. DreamWorks Theater. There are several attractions at theme parks that serve as an escape from the heat, or a rest for tired feet, and the DreamWorks Theater is just that. The problem with this attraction is that the pre-show alone is a bore, and you have to stand through it, so it doesn't help as much as it should. It also doesn't help that it replaced a pretty beloved attraction for many people, which, full disclosure, we did not enjoy either. We're talking about Shrek 4D, of course. We understand that these kinds of 4D attractions have a purpose at theme parks, and as we said before, they can be an escape from the heat, a break from all the walking, and of course it doesn't hurt that they hold a great capacity of guests that would otherwise be waiting in line for other more exciting attractions. But we do think that these types of attractions are outdated, and we need to figure out how to take them to the next level. Still, this ride is saved from the trash tier because, despite being quite boring, the animation is very good, and some of the effects are salvageable. That's why it's in the C tier of mediocrity. Flight of the Hippogriff. It's no secret that nobody likes waiting in line, but it is sometimes necessary when you are visiting a theme park, and most of the time, the wait pays off. You wait in line for 40 minutes for a fantastic ride and you feel rewarded. That is not the case with Flight of the Hippogriff. It's the ride that makes you wonder if the line is the actual attraction. The line is long, the ride is short at just 1 minute, and although the views are cool, the ride is not much. But to call it absolute trash might be incorrect just because of a hidden treasure that it has. A stunning buckbeak animatronic that saves this ride from the trash tier. So while the ride itself might not be a thrill seeker's dream, it's not the worst way to spend a minute, if you don't count the 40 minutes you spent waiting. Because of Buckbeak's redemption, this ride doesn't plunge into the trash tier. That's why we've ranked it in the mediocre C tier. Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem. We've reached the B tier, and before you label us as hypocrites because this is also a type of 4D attraction and a simulator, and we know that it also replaced an even more iconic ride than Shrek 4D, T2 Battle Across Time. But hear us out. In our opinion, this ride has a lot of heart. The humor and jokes are fun, and the theme of the ride, where we get transformed into minions, is very cute and cool, especially since we witnessed this transformation through the pre-show in a clever way. Furthermore, the theming of the entire Minion Land complements the experience. The ride itself may not be the most spectacular thing in the world, and let's be honest, it will feel outdated in a couple of years, if it doesn't already. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that it's incredibly enjoyable. That's why it's in the B tier, the super silly fun tier. Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. We quickly move on to the A tier, which includes some of the best rides in the park. And while people find this ride a bit nauseating, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey is fantastic. The Cuckoo ride system is amazing, but it can be a bit intense for some people. This system allows the seats to move in almost any direction and even flip the riders upside down while the track remains flat. The ride also has incredible animatronics and environments that make you feel like you're living your Hogwarts dream. You get to go through a tour of Hogwarts, a Quidditch match, and encounters with dragons, enormous spiders, dementors, and even the Whomping Willow. Simply walking through the queue from the castle entrance feels like its own attraction. The level of detail in every corridor is incredible, from the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom to Dumbledore's office. This ride is amazing, and despite having several scenes, it also features real sets and animatronics, like this incredible dragon. That's why we placed it in the A tier, among the best at Universal. Transformers the Ride. Let's be completely transparent here. We've never been fans of this franchise. However, this ride has made us develop some love for this movie series, and more importantly, full-blown fan club for our ride vehicle, Evac. We love Evac. This Transformer is such a hero that we demand it runs for office. It deserves its own parade for the heroic work it does on this ride. The ride takes us through different settings, and although, like many Universal rides, it relies heavily on huge screens, it also features incredible sets and special effects. Moreover, the ride's duration is pretty great. Did you know that during this ride, you actually go up in an elevator? That's right. The ride is built on 2 levels, and during the action, our vehicle is lifted by an elevator without us even noticing. This ride is a must-visit every time you go to Universal, and that's why it's in the A tier, among the best. Revenge of the Mummy, the ride. Despite this ride being a lighter version of the one we can find in Universal Studios Orlando, this is one of our favorite rides in the park. It has almost everything we look for in a ride: animatronics, fantastic special effects, and it is also a thrilling ride in complete darkness. The queue on this ride is acceptable for the most part, except when it is very crowded. It can be extremely claustrophobic for many people, especially that hallway. But despite this, the ride is sensational. Seeing Imhotep as an animatronic is a cool detail, and the unexpected and anticlimactic ending adds a special touch to the ride. Plus, the neon effects, animatronics, special effects, darkness, and high-speed launch all come together to give this ride an A-tier rating, among the best rides. Secret Life of Pet. This ride was a pleasant surprise for us. We are not huge fans of the franchise, and we were not that excited when this ride was announced. But as soon as we rode it, the ride immediately won us over. And how could it not? It has 2 of our favorite things in the world: animatronics and dog. And in this case, animatronic dogs. The ride is packed with the cutest animatronic animals, and the queue is fantastic. Right from the start, you can find an animatronic buddy, getting a massage with a mixer. We also find animatronic versions of Duke, Max, and an incredible Snowball, who cracks jokes with guests during the wait. In the ride, we take on the roles of little puppies about to be adopted. As we board the vehicle, we can see that this dark ride was truly designed to be a park favorite, as each scene is filled with high-quality animals. We've placed this ride so high because it has been one of the most pleasant surprises we've had in recent years. And it is amazing. We didn't have high hopes when it was announced, but if you're at Universal Studios Hollywood, you absolutely can't miss this ride. That's why it's in the legendary S tier. Studio Tour. This should be the top ride at Universal Studios, and in a minute, we'll tell you why it isn't. The Studio Tour has been, since the opening of Universal Studios Hollywood, best attraction in the park. After all, there wouldn't be a Universal Studios Hollywood without it. It was the attraction that started it all. This studio tour takes us directly to the sound stages where movies are made, and the magic of this tour can't be denied. It's a must every time you visit the park. Going by the Psycho House and Bates Motel, seeing Bruce and visiting many sound stages of classic movies is a marvel. However, in our opinion, recent modifications have caused the tour to lose some points. Some changes were thanks to Universal's decisions, while others were due to unforeseen disasters, like one of the biggest losses, the Kong animatronic, which we've already covered here. You can see it in this video. This incident led to its replacement, King Kong 360 3D, and despite it not being a terrible experience, the effects and animation don't quite live up to the top-tier attractions, and it definitely doesn't live up to King Kong Encounter. Still, this change was inevitable because of the disaster, but undoubtedly, one of the negative points of this tour is the Fast and Furious segment, which we really hope and pray that Universal decides to remove it and create something better in its place. This segment is horrible, with awful performances and terrible animation. It's pure cringe. That's why this ride isn't the best of all time at this park, but it's in the top tier among the best. Mario Kart. Super Nintendo World arrived this year and met and exceeded all the high expectations. While the land can sometimes be a bit crowded, seeing the animatronics and experiencing the interactive minigames makes it an incredible place. All of this is complemented by the Mario Kart ride, which is located inside Bowser's Castle, and for us, it features one of the best queues there is. The queue is full of Easter eggs that we won't discuss here in this video to avoid spoiling those who haven't visited yet. but we can tell you that it has incredible references from various stages in the life of this franchise. The ride is interactive and augmented reality based. In other words, Universal mixed real elements with digital elements through VR headsets. In the ride, you can choose your team of villains or heroes and compete in a race just like in Mario Kart, but this time, by correctly pressing the buttons on your steering wheel and shooting at your competitors. The ride can be confusing because so much is happening in your visors, but due to its theme, design, and queue, this ride has earned a spot in the top tier because it's without a doubt how a ride in a top-tier theme park like Universal should be done. Jurassic World the Ride. Finally, we've arrived at our favorite ride, the GOAT. Many purists may argue that the previous version was much better, but just compare the final scene of this ride with the new integration of the Indominus Rex fighting the T-Rex. The battle is truly insane. The original ride opened on June 21st, 1996, and underwent several renovations until it finally became Jurassic World the Ride. We have a fantastic video covering every Jurassic Park-inspired attraction that has ever existed, which you can check out in the description if you want to know more about this. But back to this particular ride, one of the main changes was the scene where the Mosasaurus is now located. Previously, we could find the famous Brachiosaurus in that spot. Another change was the final scene, where we now encounter Blue, the T-Rex, and the Indominus Rex. In our opinion, this ride is the best in the park and holds a special place in our hearts. And that's why it's in the highest category. And it probably will stay there for a long time. Well, that's all for today, but please leave a comment below to let us know what you'd like us to rank in the next video.